This is an interview with Jimi Hendrix. It was done in London about 2 weeks after his second album was released. I'm going to make some comments about my impressions of Hendrix and point out some things to look for when you listen to this interview. It's a good interview. When I met Jimi Hendrix, my first impression was his presence was so strong. It was sort of like stepping into a field of electricity. And I don't know if it's because of the giant amps that he was working with or just being a superstar and having all that energy directed at you, But I wish there had been a way that this tape could have captured some of that vibrancy that I felt at that moment. I did this interview mainly because I wanted to meet him, and I honestly did not have one question ready. I figured that, when the time came, I'd open my mouth and sort of a question would come out. We've all heard interviews where the interviewer is so involved lining up the next question that he or she doesn't hear what the person's trying to say. Well, I didn't have a next question. I just listened to what he was saying, and what he was saying led to the next question. And he was so sensitive, as you'll hear. He could see me listening, and he really opened up. You really hate these interviews.
Oh, no, well, it's all right, It's all right,
I mean, you do have a lot,
Pardon?
A lot of people bothering you about interviews.
Well, to tell the truth, there is a lot, but it's all right, though, sometimes you just feel like talking. Sometimes you don't, though,
Yeah.
Just going in different moods.
Okay, so some of the usual...
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's all right. No, it doesn't bother me at all. I just want to get this light for a second. Yeah.
You're originally from Buffalo, and you've been here about...
No, not from Buffalo.
God,
No, I'm from Seattle, Washington, originally.
Wow,
but I used to live.
read that?
I lived all over the states, though, and then I wound up in New York, not too long ago.
Yeah.
But I lived all over the states. I stayed in Buffalo for about a month or two, and it was too cold up there.
Well, yeah, but if you were in Seattle, it can't be any colder in Buffalo.
No, but Seattle has a different type of cold, though, It's a different. It's a nice coldness,
Yeah.
It isn't so cutting as Buffalo. Anyway, there's this girl up there trying to work roots on me, work this voodoo stuff, keep me there, I had to go to the hospital and all that, but I could make that scene.
What do you mean you had to go to the hospital?
Well, she tried working roots. That's a scene like they might put there's different things they can do. They can put something in your food or either put some hair in your shoe, some of the hair in your shoe. Voodoo stuff, yeah.
Mojo.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, she tried that, and I don't know. She must have tried it half-heartedly because I was just only sick in the hospital for about 2 or 3 days.
Do you ever get involved in that scene other than...
Not anymore, really. Like around in the southern United States, they have a lot of scenes like that going on.
Yeah.
But just if I see it happen or if I feel it happen, then I believe it.
Yeah.
But not necessarily if I just hear it being talked about.
What about charms and things like this?
Oh yeah.
The way...
If a person they give off certain electric shocks anyway, really.
Yeah, energies.
Yeah, and so then if they can actually get these things together, really, if the vibrations are strong enough to get these charms working, they can actually do it.
I was watching you when you were talking to this girl that came in. I think she sent you some clothes for you.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, that was very nice because you were really watching her and you were really taking her in. I mean, taking her in and I mean just like sizing up. What I mean.
She seemed like a nice girl. I like to take her home and scrub her up a little bit, and then go into the scene, and then get the clothes measured up maybe. Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's supposed to come over there for that. But see, I don't go by, like some girls, you don't go by appearance. You go by there's other things that girls have to offer besides their looks, that makes you might want to be with them, for a second or two.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things, besides that. I don't just go by this look, because we know the story, some of them, some of the worst people in the world. But, you go by other things. I don't know what it is. You can just feel little things. Say, damn, I might want to be with her. I don't know. Let me check myself there and see what happens. It's great.
What about this? I mean, I mentioned, needless to say, a lot of people are envious, me included,
Not necessarily, really.
Yeah.
Well, you shouldn't, because, if you're not used to it, well, it could kill you, really. Really, but it's just another way of communication. That's why other people can't understand and say, "Well, damn, why are you with so many people?" You know, I said, "Well, I don't necessarily be, you know, touching those people all the time. I just be talking to them. Some I talk to, and then others, you know, well, you know, therefore, and they're after." This is a scene like it's if it's part of you, you know. This is nature. I don't know. I just can't help it. That's all. It's just it's a scene like a. That's another way of communication, though. You have your own ways, you know. Some people just communicate better by, you know, not even knowing each other's name by saying, "Hey, hi, how you doing there? Would you come with me there for a minute?" And then, you know, it's all, and then you do that. And you can be the best of friends then.
Yeah.
Some even get married after that. Well,
I find it just sort of flow with it when you start to get this, you know, this image, which, you know, as you.
Oh, it was worse before, because I used to be on the block starving, you know, and girls used to help me and all that, you know. Girls are some of my best friends, because they used to help me, you know, and really help me, too.
Yeah.
And I really, ever since then, that's why I say to myself, well, any girl I meet now, I'm going to try to show my appreciation for what they did for me before. No, serious, though. It's just, it's I don't know, it's just nature.
Yeah.
In this section, we talk about his second album. He was really unhappy about it. This section is an interesting document, I guess you could call it, of the kinds of frustrations that Hendrix went through. That is, the artist, Jimi Hendrix, talking about what he's trying to do, create, and how he's being frustrated by those that were managing him at that time, what they wanted him to do and to be. I hope you'll listen closely to this part because there's something really bizarre happening between Hendrix and myself. Hendrix was so unhappy about the new album that just come out. He's trying to express his frustrations to me. You'll hear him sort of sputtering out of sheer frustration. But I felt at that time that what he was saying was so personal, so revealing that it shouldn't be on tape. He had obviously been hurt. And so what he was trying to tell me was really private stuff, not for the public. And at that time, you know, I didn't have the sense to turn off the tape machine and set the mic down and say, okay, let's talk about it. Instead, what you hear is Hendrix trying to tell me about these frustrations of his, and I'm trying to get him not to tell me. You know, my questions are trying to steer him away from it. But everything he talks about brings him right back to it again. Listen to the sound of his voice. He was incredibly open about himself.
I really don't care what our records as far as chart-wise. We had this one that only made number 11, you know. It was named The Burning of the Midnight Lamp, which everybody around here hated. They said that was the worst record, you know. But to me, that was the best one we ever made. Not far as recording, because the recording technique was really bad. You know, you couldn't hear the words so good. Probably that's what it was.
Yeah, are you satisfied with the recording technique
No,
generally?
not at all.
No. What about on the LPs? Same thing?
Not at all. Worse even on the LPs. It makes me so mad. Because, see, that's part of us.
Yeah.
And, like, see, like, we recorded and everything, and then all of a sudden, something happens, and it just comes out all screwed up, and you just get so mad, you just don't want to know about it anymore. Like, our next LP, every track is going to have to be right, or else I'm just, you know, just going to forget about it. I mean, well, not forget about it. That's the way I, you know, you say that, you know,
right,
but you're not.
Yeah.
But that's the way I feel.
Do you think they're better in the States as far as recording? Or
No.
it really depends upon the engineer?
Well, like, it all depends on what you want. Really, all depends on where you go to. It really depends on so many things. The cutting of it. Excuse me. The cutting of it depends on the whole. That's a whole scene. You can get in there and mix and mix and mix and get such a beautiful sound. And when it's time to cut it, they can just screw it up so bad.
Jesus, I don't understand.
I know. I wouldn't understand that either, because we, you know, it comes out all bad. Because they go by levels and all that. Some people don't have imagination. See, when you cut a record, right before it's being printed, excuse me, you know, when you cut the master, that, excuse me, if you want a sound where you can, really deep sound, you know, where you have depth and all this, you must almost remix it again right there, the cutting place. And 99% don't even do this. They just go and say, oh yeah, turn it up there, make sure that it doesn't go over there, make sure it doesn't go under, you know. And there it is. It's nothing but one-dimensional.
Yeah. Do you get the time that you need? I mean, because it's so,
so
costly anyway.
We did
to be in these studios.
The money doesn't make any difference to me.
Yeah,
because that's what I make the money for, is to make better things, happen. I don't have no value of money at all. That's my only fault, because I just get the things that I see and want, and or either try to put it into music. I want to have a stereo where it goes up. The sound goes up and behind and underneath, But all you can get now is just a cross and a cross.
Yeah.
Our new LP was made in 16 days, which I'm very sad about,
The one that's just out recently, Really.
But no use even talk about, discussing why, because it really is a bad scene. But just makes me mad, though. It could have been so much better.
It's mainly the sound quality.
Well, the songs could have been better, too. That's what I think, though. As soon as they finish, then you got a completely new ideas.
Yeah, right. Well, it's good. I mean, in a sense, because your mind's moving along, purring along nicely.
Yeah, it's not necessarily getting any better, but like you might move to different things,
Do you feel the groups are free to change as they want to?
No, half of them aren't. They're all thinking about their career and thinking about their future so much. I really don't give a damn about my future or career. I just want to make sure I can get out what I want, That's why I say we're very lucky. Because we didn't have, all of us didn't have that, so, it'd be great if we did, make it nice. But I really wouldn't care as long as we could be happy with what we're doing, like recording and stuff like that, or do what we want to do. We're still, we're not really doing what we want. But that's, completely.
Yeah. What about a new LP? You've been thinking about this then?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make it a double LP, which will be almost impossible. And have about...
Because of the cost, you mean?
Well, yeah, it's a big hassle. Nobody doesn't want to do that. The record producers and the companies don't want to do that. I'm willing to spend every single penny on it if I thought it was good enough. But there you go, I do that and then they leave me out there.
What about the length of the songs, too? I mean, would you like them to be much longer?
It depends on what kind of song it is. If it's a song with about 3 or 4 movements, well, yeah, like this one song I wrote named Eyes and Imagination. That's the name of it. And it's about 14 minutes long. But it's telling about every sentence or every 2 sentences tell a completely different story. It's nothing but imagination. It starts off with this baby crying, a brand new baby has been born, and then you hear these bullets, in the background. It's nothing but this imagination. And every sentence tells a different story, and but it goes in about 4 major movements, but it always goes back to this one little thing. You must have that one little thing through it, that one little. But I don't even know if there's so many songs I wrote that we haven't even done yet that we'll probably never do. It's because, there's a lot of things around here that's really bad.
It's okay. Yeah.
We must be Elvis Presleys and rock and rolls and trogs. We must be that.
Yeah, that's where it's at, isn't it?
And there'll be no smoking in the gas chamber. See.
Wow. Do you think people will be doing longer numbers if you're trying to...
Well, like if they have something...
Moving towards maybe even symphonies.
Yeah, I think they should if they have something to offer, really. If the number really has to be long, they said, well, I got this number, but I just can't get it together unless I just need more time on it. Well, then they really should. They should never hold, time like that because of a number. The song that we had named Purple Haze?
Yeah.
That was about, it had about 1,000 words. This got me so mad because that isn't even a Purple Haze,
Well, what do you mean?
I don't know, man. I'm just a frustrated old hen, that's all. That's what I feel like. But you should have heard it, man. I had it written out. It's about going through all this land, this mythical. Because that's what I like to do is write a lot of mythical scenes. Like the history of the wars on Neptune and all this mess, And the reason why the rings are there, you have all these... See, like how they got the Greek gods and all that mythology? Well, you can have your own mythology scene. Or write, fiction. Complete fiction, though, I mean, anybody could say, well, I was walking down the street and I see an elephant floating through the sky. Well, it has no meaning at all, there's nothing to imagine except there's an elephant there, And if you don't watch out, you might break your neck.
Do you think you'll be able to make more demands as you continue?
Yeah. This whole thing's going to blow wide open soon.
And to talking are the best single handheld microphone. There's certain advantage to this. You have to sit alongside the person so you can swing the mic back and forth, from your questions to their answers. And it's sort of rubbing shoulders with a person, and it enables you to touch the person. And I don't mean necessarily physically touching, their arm or their hand or something. But, I mean mentally touch the person, sort of sync your mind with their mental state. You have to feel the person, and they need to feel you. See, you're okay. And it establishes a trust. And as I've said, Hendrix's presence was so strong, and the energy in the room was so hot at this point, that I was high for a week after doing this interview. One last thought. I realized that if I approached Hendrix as the pop star, he would have been forced to reply as the pop star. And that's what this interview would have been, the pop star talking about his records. But I wanted to talk with Hendrix the person, the artist, and he replied as that, and that's what we get in this section. I think it's a rare and kind of a beautiful view of Hendrix as he talks about his childhood memories and his dreams.
Can you remember when you was a little baby? I think your memory comes through.
About the age of 2.5.
Yeah.
But it came back like a dream.
Yeah, there you go. When you think about it now, it's just a blank before that, then you think of that. Well, I think that's why you come about on some other scenes too, Because human beings die too easily, it's first thing.
What about the animal? You said the animal.
Like you might see an animal or something like that, and also you might have a very funny feeling go through you for a second.
Do you mean like looking into his eyes, or not necessarily, or just the animal itself?
Yeah, one time I seen this deer, and because I see a lot of deers around where I used to be from. And I said, wait, something went through me for once, like I'd seen him before. I mean, like I had some real close connections with that deer for one split second, and then it just went away like that, That happens, like a lot of friends of mine told me about that happened to them, Have you ever laid in bed and you was in this complete state where you couldn't move or couldn't or nothing like that, but you're like that, and you feel like you're going deep and deep into something, not sleep, but it's something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And every time I go into that, then I say, oh hell, I'm scared as hell. You get all scared and stuff, so you try to say, help, help. You can't move, you can't scream, you say, help, help. You finally get out of it, because you just can't move. It's a very funny feeling. But one time I was going to try it. One time that feeling was coming through me, I said, oh, here we go. This time I'm going to see if I'm going to let it happen, see where I go to, or see what happens, So I was really getting really scary, man. I was going like that, I said, I'm not even asleep, So this is really strange. And somebody knocked on the door, I said, oh. Because I wanted to find out.
Can you remember something really far back? When you
I can remember when the nurse put the dice. I remember.
Can you really?
Yeah, when the nurse. I don't know what I was there for, but I remember when I used to wear diapers.
Yeah.
And then she was like talking to me. She took me out of this crib or something like that. And then she held me up to the window. This was in Seattle. And she was showing me something up against the sky. There was fireworks and all that. It must have been the 4th of July, Because I remember her putting the diaper on me and almost sticking it, I was asleep, and then she put like that. I remember I didn't feel so good, I must have been in the hospital sick about something. And I had a bottle and all that kind of stuff. And then she held me up to the window. She's saying something about it. And I was looking, and the sky was just
almost an acid thing going on.
Wow, that's right. That's what it was, because only beforehand, our first trip there, the nurse turns me on, being high off the penicillin she probably gave me. So.
Can you remember any others?
Well, I was small enough to fit in a clothes basket. I remember when I was small enough to fit in a clothes basket. The straw clothes baskets they have in America?
Yeah.
You put all the dirty clothes in. And there's only about like that.
They call them hampers or something.
Yeah, hampers. Yeah. I remember my cousin and I was in there playing around.
Oh, yeah.
That must have been when I was about 3 or something like that. And like sometimes when you're sitting around, then you start remembering some of the things that happened beforehand. Those are the first two that comes to my mind. And some dreams that I had when I was real little, like my mother was being carried away on this camel. And it was a big caravan. And she's saying, well, I'm gonna see you now. And she's going under these trees. You can see the shade, you know, the leaf patterns across her face. But she's going under this, you know, like that. And the sun, you know how the sun shines through a tree, and if you go under the shadows of the tree, the shadows go across your face. Well, these were in green and yellow shadows. Like, she's saying, well, I won't be seeing you too much anymore, you know, so I'll see. And then about 2 years after that, she died, you know. And I said, yeah, but where you going though, like that? You know, I remember that. I always really remember that one. I never did forget. There's some dreams you never forget.
Yeah.
Like one time I went, there's this one dream you go down like that, this real big hill, but it has real long grass, and then there's a whole lot of bananas down the floor, at the floor of this hill, but they're all spread all over, and they're growing from the ground by each one separate. And I remember that, and then we was skating across that. I don't know how we were, but what you do is you pour this stuff out that we made up. You know, it's big bags, you pour it out across the bananas, and it fills up all the gaps, and then you skate across it. It's, you know, I remember those things, you know.
You must have been dreaming in color when you were very young.
Oh, definitely. I don't remember too many. The closest to a black and white dream I ever had was in pastel shades, you know.
Yeah.
One time I was in pastel shades, like it was maroon and dark, you know, and then light, very light maroon, and then this big gold cliff out of the middle of nowhere. That was great. And that was the closest I ever got to black and white.
This final section is only a few words about reincarnation and death.
People really believe that every single person that's born here is completely different, you know. I mean, that's true, but through the times, can you imagine all these, like, what if we all supposed to go to heaven? All that? Can you imagine all these people who died beforehand, and all of us, all of them in heaven, all of them top of each other? Hey, man, move over, man. I don't have the rule up here. It's so, hell, you had no business dying, did you? So, oh, God. So can you imagine that? Wow.
This has been an interview with Jimi Hendrix. Your guide has been Meatball Fulton.